Welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to have you here today. Go ahead and put on your detective hats because we're about to go on a thrilling journey all the way back to the 17th century. We're going to solve some of the greatest mysteries of the universe, looking at a time when science and faith were coming together in a totally brand new way. And our big mystery today? Well, it's the very building blocks of our world.
So, I want you to imagine you're doing a science experiment. You've got your safety goggles on, you've got a bunch of glass beakers in front of you, you're coming up with a hypothesis, and you're carefully following these step-by-step instructions in a laboratory. It feels so completely normal to us now, right? But have you ever actually stopped to ask who came up with the idea of a step-by-step scientific laboratory in the first place? I mean, someone had to think of it first.
All right, Section 1. Meet scientist Robert Boyle.
Let's meet our main subject. This is Robert Boyle, the man we actually call the father of modern chemistry today. He was born into this very wealthy aristocratic family in Ireland back in 1627. Now, when he was just 14 years old, he took a trip to Italy, and two massive life-changing things happened on this trip. First, he discovered the brilliant math and science of Galileo, and second, right around that exact same time, he went through this incredibly powerful religious experience during a massive thunderstorm. That storm actually inspired him to swear an oath to serve God with his entire life. So from the very beginning, his deep Christian faith and his absolute love for science were locked together as one grand adventure. Eventually, by 1654, he moved to Oxford, England, to completely dedicate his life to this amazing pursuit.
Moving on to Section 2, Magic versus Modern Chemistry.
Okay, so to really understand just how revolutionary Robert Boyle was, we have to look at the wild, kind of mystical world of science before he came along. Because back then, chemistry wasn't really chemistry at all. It was this thing called alchemy. Contrast that spooky, magical quest of alchemy, where people were literally trying to find a mystical philosopher's stone to magically turn ordinary iron into gold or brew up potions for immortality, with Boyle's brand new approach of chemistry. Boyle basically stepped in and said, no more magic. He believed science absolutely needed real labs, careful measurements, and repeated experiments to actually mean anything.
To get this idea out there, Boyle published a famous book called The Skeptical Chemist. And in it, he literally changed the world by redefining what an element is. He defined elements as, quote, primitive and simple, or perfectly unmingled bodies. So basically what he meant is that they are the basic unmingled building blocks of nature. Think of them like the fundamental pieces of the universe. Everything is made of these distinct physical ingredients, instead of, magical principles or mystical potions.
Which brings us to Section 3, Discovering How Gases Work.
You see, Boyle didn't just write books. He actually got his hands dirty figuring out the invisible secrets of gases. Working together with his brilliant assistant, a guy named Robert Hooke, Boyle built this incredible machine called an air pump. First, they built the pump. Second, they trapped invisible gas inside a glass tube. Third, they added physical pressure to it. And fourth, and guys, this was the really exciting part, they watched the volume of that gas shrink right before their very eyes. They proved that you could actually measure the invisible air all around us. Measurement had officially replaced magic for good.
And all that hard work led to his absolute most famous scientific triumph. It's known today as Boyle's Law. When gas pressure goes up, volume goes down. It's so simple, but this brilliantly illustrates how our universe runs on real, mathematical rules that are just waiting out there to be discovered. It's a highly reliable, perfectly measurable pattern. Let's look at Section 4, Reading God's Book.
Now, we really need to ask the big question here. Why did Boyle do all of this? Well, it was his deep Christian faith that passionately drove his curiosity to study the world. He actually had this beautiful metaphor that he wrote about. He said, the book of nature is a fine and large piece of tapestry rolled up, which we are not able to see all at once, but must be content to wait for the discovery of its beauty and symmetry, little by little. Boyle truly believed God wrote two separate books for humanity, the Bible and the book of nature. Doing science experiments was simply his way of reading the book of nature. So for Boyle, discovering facts about the physical universe wasn't just, boring schoolwork. He famously wrote that he esteemed the world as a temple. And if the whole world is a temple, well, then the scientist is a priest. Therefore, doing careful, honest science is actually an exciting act of worship to the Creator.
Section 5, The Giant Clockwork Universe.
This brings us to his second and probably most famous metaphor for exactly how the world operates. Boyle loved to compare the universe to a really famous, incredibly complex mechanical clock located over in Strasbourg. This metaphor is great because it helps us visualize the universe as a giant, moving machine. In this vision, God is the divine master clock maker. The natural laws, like Boyle's law about gases, are the invisible gears inside. And because of the Creator's brilliant design, the entire universe functions completely smoothly and predictably.
This whole idea became known as mechanical philosophy. Boyle believed that God engineered the incredible, beautiful variety of all creation using essentially just two simple things: matter, which are the physical building blocks, and motion.
Now I want to clarify something because people often get this next part confused. A bit later on, some thinkers known as deists took this clock metaphor and they said, well, God just wound the clock up at the very beginning of time and then walked away to leave it entirely alone. Emphatically, that is absolutely not what Boyle believed. Boyle believed that God is a very busy clockmaker. God didn't just wind up the universe and abandon it. He is constantly busy, actively maintaining those gears and sustaining the universe every single day.
Let's wrap things up with Section 6, Boyle's lasting legacy.
As we bring this explainer toward its conclusion, let's just take a moment to look at the incredible gifts Robert Boyle left behind for all of us. His massive contributions are literally the foundations of how we learn today. I mean, he helped solidify the step-by-step scientific method. He gave us Boyle's law for chemistry and physics. He gave us the modern definition of elements, leaving all that spooky alchemy in the past where it belongs. And amazingly, he even left a bunch of money in his will to fund something called the Boyle Lectures, which is a yearly event designed to continuously show how the Christian faith and scientific exploration work brilliantly together as a team.
And what's truly fascinating about all this is that modern professors, like Dr. Robert C. Bishop right here, are still actively studying Robert Boyle's life and works today. They look all the way back at the 17th century to deeply understand this incredible harmony between faith and science that Boyle championed.
Boyle's life stands as living proof to modern scholars and honestly to all of us that being a brilliant, skeptical, experimenting scientist and having a strong, vibrant faith are not opposites at all. In fact, they're just two sides of the exact same adventure. And that brings us to the very end of our journey today. But before you go, I want to leave you with this exciting question to think about. If the universe really is a giant, beautiful clock designed by a master clockmaker, what incredible invisible gears are just waiting out there for you to discover? Keep those detective hats on, keep exploring, and keep learning.